Welcome to this session that's sponsored by the Lead for Literacy Center, or L4L. This is a project that's funded by the Office of Special Education Programs, otherwise known as OSEP in the U.S. Department of Education. And although this session is sponsored by L4L, our focus is going to be on the ways that our work connects with work being done by other national centers also funded by OSEP. So our presenters today include representatives from multiple centers. We're going to start with some brief introductions and then we'll move into the presentation. And I'll start. I'm Allison Gandhi and I'm representing the Lead for Literacy Center as its Deputy Director. I'm also a Vice President at American Institutes for Research, overseeing projects related to special education and multi-tiered systems of support.
And I'm Lena Santoro. I'm representing the National Center on Improving Literacy, and I am also co-principal investigator on the Lead for Literacy Center. I am a researcher and curriculum developer at the University of Oregon Center on Teaching and Learning.
I'm Laura Kuechly. I am representing the National Center on Intensive Intervention and am a senior researcher at the American Institutes for Research.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Pierce, and I'm with the National Center for Systemic Improvement, or NCSI. I also work at AIR, American Institutes for Research, as a technical assistance consultant and researcher.
Great, thank you, everyone. So the 4 centers that we represent are part of an even larger network of technical assistance centers funded by OSEP to support education of students with disabilities across the country. And these 4 centers in particular, we wanted to highlight because we are doing complementary work. And in some instances, we're even working in the same states. So it's important that we coordinate our work and make sure that the states and districts in which we work are aware of the full breadth of resources and supports available across these centers. So we wanted to use this session as a way to illustrate how we are connected and ways that you can access resources and support from these centers as they relate to early literacy. So I'm going to start by providing an overview of the Lead for Literacy Center, and in particular, I'm going to talk about our framework for early literacy implementation, which is what guides all of the work that we do. So first, the mission of the L4L Center and our charge is to build the capacity of school leaders to first recognize evidence-based literacy practices, and then second, to facilitate their implementation through identifying and supporting instruction and intervention programming and professional development, including coaching. And our focus is always on providing assistance, that is evidence-based, both in terms of the literacy skills and the concepts that we cover, but also in terms of leadership skills. So we do this through different types of technical assistance activities that reach different audiences. So first, we have a website. The link URL is here on this slide. Here we curate resources and we post new resources such as brief online video modules and infographics, which we disseminate to a very broad audience. We also have a partnership with the National Association of Elementary School Principals, where we have a webinar series that we operate with them and other various communication vehicles to reach principals across the country. Next, we offer targeted technical assistance events for states where they convene district and building leadership teams, and these events focus on building knowledge for our participants. And then finally, we will soon be offering intensive technical assistance for groups of building level leaders who have participated in the targeted TA and they're ready to move on to that next step. And all of these events can be offered virtually, and hopefully in the future, we will be able to do some of it in person as well. So on this slide, I've included the 5 elements of our Lead for Literacy framework. And this is the framework that guides all of the technical assistance work that we do. So we structured our training around these elements, and we guide our participants through a process of evaluating themselves and establishing action plans around each of these elements as well. So the first element is standards, priorities, and goals. This means that leaders are making reading a school-wide priority. So schools have a clear vision and mission for reading that is aligned with other standards and priorities and goals in the school, and it's embraced by all staff. The second element is administration, organization, and communication. And here we want leaders to be focused on continuous improvement. So they should be implementing literacy within a multi-tiered system of supports in which teams of staff are working together to support students at all levels of need. The third element is assessments. And here we want leaders to be guiding teams in the purposeful use of data. So this includes data that is used for screening, for progress monitoring and diagnosis, and also for continuous improvement of the overall MTSS and reading model. Fourth is instruction and intervention. So this includes making sure that staff are using programs, practices, and materials with documented efficacy that align with the goals and standards. And then finally, our last element is professional development and job-embedded collaborative learning. So this refers to workshops, coaching, professional learning communities, and any other means for developing and maintaining educator expertise in various reading instructional practices. So in this presentation, we're going to share information on how other OSEP-funded centers support the implementation of these elements. So first, we'll highlight the work of the National Center on Improving Literacy and resources that they have related to all 5 of these elements. Next, we'll talk about the National Center on Intensive Intervention and resources that they have on assessment, as well as instruction and intervention. And then finally, we'll talk about the National Center on Systemic Improvements resources on professional learning and coaching. And for more information, please visit our website, leadforliteracy.org, or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lena.
Yeah, thanks, Allison. I am pleased to represent the National Center on Improving Literacy, abbreviated NCIL and pronounced NCIL. NCIL is a national center supported with funding from the Office of Special Education Programs, U.S. Department of Education. NCIL is from the Center on Teaching and Learning at the University of Oregon, and we have major partners including RMC Research Corporation and the Florida Center for Reading Research at Florida State University. Next. Overall, NCIL's mission is to address current and emerging training and information needs of state and local education agencies, including technical assistance centers, schools, practitioners, by increasing access to and use of evidence-based practices to screen, identify, and teach students with literacy-related disabilities, including dyslexia. NCIL's work centers on 5 priorities. They include assessment, instruction and intervention, parents and families, professional development, and dissemination. Next. As I discuss the work of our center, I'll be sharing examples of NCIL's dissemination efforts that align with all 5 elements from the Lead for Literacy framework. Within this context, I want to acknowledge our team members who lead NCIL dissemination, including Jessica Tortura and Brian Guerin. To show you how NCIL's tools and resources support the Lead for Literacy framework, I'm going to take you on a tour of the NCIL website. So as you view this video, you're welcome to go to the NCIL website at improvingliteracy.org and follow along. When you reach the NCIL homepage, look at the navigation bar at the top. We'll start by selecting Tools and Resources. As you select Tools and Resources, you'll see an option titled State of Dyslexia. Now, if you're following along on the web page, please select State of Dyslexia and you'll see the map that I have up on my screen. Aligning with Lead for Literacy standards, priorities, and goals, this is a component of NCIL's website that highlights legislation related to dyslexia. NCIL's State of Dyslexia is showcased here with an interactive map. As you view this screen on NCIL's website, you can click on a state and see the state's requirements related to screening, pre-service training, in-service training, and intervention. For leaders, it's essential to have a working knowledge of policy and legislation. And as the Lead for Literacy framework dictates, standards, priorities, and goals set your overall mission and vision. In this case, understanding the state of dyslexia and corresponding policy and legislation can help leadership frame implementation to support requirements. So just in case you're interested, 43 states currently have dyslexia legislation, 28 have screening requirements, 22 have intervention requirements, 23 have teacher in-service requirements, and 12 have teacher pre-service requirements. Overall, 9 states have requirements for screening, intervention, in-service, and pre-service. These states include Texas, Arkansas, Indiana, Kentucky, Alabama, Florida, Virginia, and New Hampshire. Next. The next element of the Lead for Literacy framework is administration, organization, and communication. As you navigate the ENSIL website, notice the categories on the top navigation bar. As the red circle shows, you're looking to the left of tools and resources. Here you'll see for parents and families, schools and districts, and state agencies. Thinking of leaders and tools and resources provided for parents and families and schools and districts, that will help support the administration, organization, and communication element. On the screen right now is an example of the tools and resources that can be used to support outreach with parents and families. When exploring the resources here, you'll find materials related to remote learning, beginning reading, and dyslexia. Next. So continuing with parents and families and moving clockwise around the screen are resources available to support a leader's organization and communication. So first, there are infographics and literacy briefs that communicate about the evidence-based practices required to support a child's reading development in accessible, friendly ways. The infographics are especially helpful for supporting communication because there's a visual presentation of complex ideas related to the learning of reading. Highlighted on the screen, for example, is the Repair as Needed infographic, which can be used to support parent communication with schools if a child is experiencing reading difficulties. So next is a resource repository where parents can directly search for tools and materials specifically designed for them. Next, there's also a set of e-learning materials focused on how families can support a child's literacy success. And there's a learning literacy glossary that can be used by parents to identify the meaning of commonly used terminology and educational jargon used in early literacy with terms like alphabetic principle, auditory processing, and phonological awareness. And then finally, our ENSIL website includes a Kid Zone with e-learning books and literacy games for kids and families to read, listen, and play. So this whole suite of resources that you see here can be showcased in any school event with parents and families. Our ENSIL team has worked with leaders to incorporate use of these tools in traditional back-to-school events, parent-teacher conferences, and virtual sessions where resources can be directly demonstrated for families. So for example, we've had some leaders invite parents to a virtual open house using a platform like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, where these resources are shared, demonstrated, and discussed. Next slide. So aligning with the Lead for Literacy's assessment element, ENSIL's website also provides tools and resources to support screening. Screening essentially consists of those short processes to find students who need help in reading, writing, spelling, or math. By using an evidence-based screening process, leaders can optimize resource allocation in determining who may need more help in the classroom or who may need further diagnostic assessment. The infographics and briefs associated with screening, like those highlighted here, can be used to support the work of leadership and data teams within the context of multi-tiered systems of support. Next. The Lead for Literacy framework also addresses instruction and intervention. When exploring resources on the ENSIL website for interventions, a helpful resource for leadership is the expert videos. This set of videos can be used to guide instructional look-fors. For example, the expert video that asks, what are the characteristics of effective literacy instruction? Expert literacy coach Jess Searles provides instructional examples and specific classroom look-fors that align with evidence-based practices in the science of reading. The interview with Jack Fletcher, featured on the right, also highlights critical components of early intervention that can be used to identify essential systems level variables and intervention structure. Next slide. Given the current context of providing education to students in a global pandemic, there are also resources provided to support the orchestration of remote literacy learning. From a leadership perspective, the tools available, like the infographic and remote learning toolkit featured here provide tips and strategies for building the systems required for virtual systems implementation. Next. Finally, supporting the professional development and job-embedded collaborative learning element from the Lead for Literacy framework, ENSEL has packaged resources into implementation toolkits. So each toolkit focuses on a specific topic. Right now, there are 9 topic-specific toolkits, including toolkits focused on alphabetic principle and phonics, families and schools partnering for children's success, and fluency with text. You can see the list of topic-specific toolkits on the right side of your screen. Just so you can see the sorts of things available in a toolkit, let's look at the alphabetic principle and phonics toolkit on the next slide. When entering the alphabetic principle and phonics toolkit, there's a Get Started banner that highlights the toolkit's contents. Here you'll find everything you need to support implementation of alphabetic understanding and phonics, including critical definitions, an online tutorial, support materials, and resources for teachers and parents. There's also a video that spotlights instruction and highlights critical evidence-based look-fors. Overall, each toolkit can be used to support professional development. For example, a professional learning community could study and discuss contents from a different topic-specific toolkit at each PLC meeting. Components of the toolkits can also be integrated into other forms of professional development, like workshops and in-service trainings, or used to support coaching, implementation, and job-embedded learning. So thank you for the opportunity to showcase ENSEL's dissemination efforts and present materials that align with the Lead for Literacy framework. For more information about our center, please visit our website and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thanks.
Hello. Hello. I am pleased to represent the National Center on Intensive Intervention, or NCII. Today, I want to tell you about NCII resources to support assessment, focusing on our academic assessments tools charts. Before I get into our tools charts, I want to explicitly link that work to the assessments element within the Lead for Literacy framework. As I'll show soon, our tools charts connect to multiple topics within this element, 2 types of academic assessments, and how they're used to support decision-making. I'll also briefly mention NCII resources related to intervention. So, what is a tools chart? Tools charts display expert ratings on the technical rigor of assessments and interventions. An external technical review committee of experts reviews products using established criteria. We do not rank products or compare them to each other. The submission process is voluntary, and we post reviews of all eligible submissions. You can learn more at our tools chart overview page. Before we dive in, let's see how the tools charts connect to the assessments element of the Lead for Literacy framework. Our 2 academic assessment charts, screening and progress monitoring, provide information about 2 Lead for Literacy assessments topics, screening for reading and monitoring reading progress. Both charts provide information on how assessments support database decision-making, including information and standards related to decision rules. So, what do the charts look like? Here's a screenshot of the top of our academic screening tools chart. Each rated assessment appears in its own row, with separate ratings for each area and grade level combination the tool covers. At the top of the chart, we see 3 tabs, each of which contains different standards or fields in the columns. Later, we'll take a look at the tabs for each assessment chart. Next slide, thank you. At the top of each chart, above the rating table we just saw, we see a legend and filters. This slide shows the legend and basic filters. These are the same for academic screening and progress monitoring. Standards are rated using bubbles. A full bubble indicates convincing evidence, a half bubble is partially convincing, and an empty bubble is unconvincing. A dash means that data were not available for this standard. A D superscript next to a rating means that data disaggregated by subgroup are available for this standard. The basic filters include subject, reading and math, and grade range. If you check the box next to reading, then click on Apply Filters, you will limit the chart to only reading assessments. To see more filtering options, click on Show Advanced Filters, which you're seeing now. Advanced filters include considerations for training, administration, and cost. You also can look for tools that provide data disaggregated by subgroup. All of these filters are available for both screening and progress monitoring, except for the filter on alternate forms, which applies only to progress monitoring. Before, I mentioned that each assessment chart has 3 tabs. Here, we see the tab structure for the Academic Screening Tools chart. The Classification Accuracy tab provides accuracy ratings for up to 2 criterion measures, up to 3 times per year. The Technical Standards tab provides ratings for reliability and validity, important aspects of tool quality that are highlighted in the Lead for Literacy assessments element. The Sample Representativeness column provides information on the breadth of the sample and whether or not a cross-validation study was conducted. The last column tells us if a bias analysis was conducted. The final tab is Usability Features. This tab provides information on administration and scoring, format, and time. The last 2 columns relate to the types of decision rules supported by the screening tool and if evidence was provided in support of multiple decision rules. Here is a sample from the Academic Screening Rating Rubric, showing the criteria for rating classification accuracy. In this case, the same basic criteria need to be met for either a half bubble or full bubble, including answering yes to the 3 questions below the table. But a full bubble requires greater sensitivity and specificity. Some of the standards are very technical. To help users better understand the screening standards, NCII and the National Center on Improving Literacy, or NCIL, collaboratively developed one-pagers and infographics to help explain several of the standards in our screening tools chart: classification accuracy, validity, reliability, statistical bias, and sample representativeness. You can find them all on the NCII site under Understanding Screening. What do the technical standards mean? Each one-pager includes a definition, examples, and information on why that particular standard is important for understanding the quality of screening tools. Here, we see the tab structure for the Academic Progress Monitoring Tools chart. We see some similarities to the screening chart, but also some differences in organization and standards. The Performance Level Standards tab provides ratings on the reliability and validity of the performance level score and indicates if a bias analysis was conducted. The Growth Standards tab includes 2 sensitivity standards: the reliability and validity of the slope. The next standard reviews the number and comparability of alternate forms. Lastly, we have 2 standards for decision rules, one for setting and revising goals, and one for changing instruction. The final tab, again, is Usability, providing information on administration and scoring, format, and time. The last column tells us if rate of improvement and end-of-year benchmarks are available. Here is a sample from the Academic Progress Monitoring Rating Rubric, showing the criteria for rating the validity of the performance level score. In this case, at least 2 appropriately justified types of validity using external criterion measures are required for either a half or full bubble, but a full bubble requires all types reach a minimum threshold. NCII also has resources to support assessment during virtual or remote instruction. For example, the Maintaining a Screening and Progress Monitoring Practices in Virtual or Remote Settings page provides considerations, a sample sign-up sheet, and 2 videos on conducting reading screening virtually using screen share and breakout rooms. The frequently asked questions on collecting progress monitoring data virtually helps you think through if and when it makes sense to conduct virtual progress monitoring, including its benefits and limitations. For one question, how do I know if my tool can be used virtually? NCII asked vendors with assessments on our progress monitoring tools charts to share resources to support virtual administration. A table summarizes information from vendors and provides links to available resources to support implementation. Other questions include information on preparing for assessment, communicating with parents, and interpreting scores. To find other assessment resources, you can use our search feature. On the left side of the search page, you will find various filters. Both screening and progress monitoring are filter options under DBI process. Although I'm focusing today on assessment, NCII also has resources to support reading intervention. For example, we have an academic intervention tools chart. You can filter the chart to show only reading interventions, or use advanced filters to select interventions for early literacy, language, reading fluency, reading comprehension, or writing. The literacy strategies to support intensifying interventions page provides sample lessons and activities for various skills under each of the big 5 ideas of reading. The reading lessons are examples of brief instructional routines that may be used to supplement reading interventions or curricula you already have in place. We also have tips and videos to help educators and parents use the sample lessons to support continuity of learning during the pandemic. Thank you for the opportunity to share some NCII resources that align with the Lead for Literacy framework. For more information about our center, please visit our website and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you.
Hello, as a reminder, I'm Jennifer Pierce, and I'm going to share some information with you about coaching resources from the National Center for Systemic Improvement, or NCSI. At NCSI, we work with states, U.S. territories, and local education agencies, or LEAs, to improve outcomes for students with disabilities. Before we go any further, I'd like to explicitly link NCSI's coaching resources and our work to the Lead for Literacy framework. As you can see, and you now know, there are 5 literacy or 5 L4L framework elements, and professional development and job-embedded collaborative learning is one of those elements. The PD and collaborative learning element is further broken down into 5 specific topics, and one of those topics is coaching. And this isn't very surprising, as there are nearly 60,000 coaches working in the United States, indicating that coaching does indeed play a prominent role in education. And for over 40 years, coaching has served as that mechanism of bridging knowing to doing. And we also know from research that training plus coaching leads to change in teacher practice and knowledge, whereas training alone can only produce improvements in teacher knowledge. In short, when the goal is to build knowledge, offer training. When the goal is to improve teacher practice in the classroom setting, ensure teachers participate in trainings plus coaching. Recent research indicates that coaching can be a powerful strategy for improving teacher practice. In 2018, Kraft and colleagues published a meta-analysis of 60 studies that showed that coached teachers showed significantly improved teaching as compared to teachers who weren't coached, and the effect size being 0.71. In addition, the students of coached teachers also showed improvements, although the effect size was smaller of 0.11. Because an effect size of 0.2 or 0.3 is considered to be quite powerful in education, these findings are notable and make the case that coaching can indeed be a productive way to change teacher practice. The challenge, however, is for coaches to conduct coaching cycles that do lead to significantly improved teacher practice. And the good news is that we now know from research what the most effective coaching practices are. Next, I'm going to unpack these 4 practices, and then I'll talk about how coaches apply them in a coaching cycle. This slide is a screenshot of NCSI's self-paced online module on coaching and shows those 4 most powerful or effective coaching practices. Coaches who aim to improve teacher practice and student outcomes use these practices. They are observing, modeling, providing performance feedback, and using alliance strategies. Observing is watching the teacher teach students. This might be face-to-face or could be virtually. Modeling is showing a teacher how to use a practice. This could be a live model or could be the use of videos showing exemplary teacher practice. Providing performance feedback is when a teacher is given specific information on how his or her teaching practice impacts students. Now, many of us are familiar with observing, modeling, and providing performance feedback, but alliance strategies may be unfamiliar to you. Alliance strategies are specific behaviors coaches use to create positive and trusting relationships with teachers. Research indicates that there are 3 types of alliance strategies. One is showing strong interpersonal skills, like asking open-ended questions. 2, taking a collaborative approach to coaching is a second type of an alliance strategy. And this can include working with the teacher to set an improved teaching goal based on the teacher's needs. A third type of alliance strategy is conveying expertise in both teaching and in coaching. For example, demystifying the coaching cycle can help teachers feel at ease with the process of coaching and understanding what to expect when participating in coaching cycles. So these 3 types of alliance strategies are critical in effective coaching. So how do coaches apply these practices within a cycle of coaching? This slide is another screenshot from the self-paced online module showing the 3-step process of coaching. In step 1, the coach meets with the teacher in a pre-observation meeting using alliance strategies to build and maintain trust and that positive teacher-coach dynamic. At this meeting, coaches often ask open-ended questions and work with the teacher to set a meaningful, attainable instructional goal and to set the day and time of the observation. In the second step of the coaching process, the coach directly observes the teacher as he or she instructs students. This might be a face-to-face observation, as I noted earlier, or the coach may view a video of the teacher working in the classroom. In today's context, an observation may even include the coach zooming in to an online lesson that the teacher conducts virtually with students. However the observation occurs, during this step of the process, the coach is collecting data on what the teacher does and how students respond to teacher instruction. The coach may even model for the teacher if working face-to-face, or provide those video exemplars if the teacher is conducting a lesson virtually, or if the coach has looked at a video of teacher practice. The third step of the coaching process is a post-observation meeting. At this meeting, the coach will continue to use alliance strategies, perhaps asking open-ended questions like, how did the lesson go for you and for students? And in what ways did you make progress toward your instructional goal? The coach will also provide performance feedback. This performance feedback is specific, more positive than corrective, but corrective if warranted, and provided to the teacher in a timely fashion, perhaps within a day or so of observing that lesson. If you are interested in effective coaching practices, how they're used in a coaching cycle, and supporting the implementation of coaching, you may find it helpful to access the suite of NCSI's coaching resources. These resources are designed to both build knowledge of coaching and to support implementation. And note that the resources listed here on this slide include a second NCSI module that's online called Measuring the Fidelity of Coaching. And this module explains the process of collecting and using data for continuous improvement. The resources listed on this slide accompany that Fidelity module. For example, there is a rubric which defines how to rate coaching practice, a blank worksheet that an observer uses to collect coaching fidelity data, and a completed sample of the worksheet, which shows how one hypothetical observer completed the fidelity worksheet for a coach. And the resources shown on this slide provide additional information on effective coaching practices. If you'd like to learn more about these coaching resources, please consider also looking at the Lead for Literacy Center website, which contains additional resources about using coaching cycles and effective coaching practices. And of course, please don't hesitate to check out our website and follow us on Twitter and Facebook, or you could email me. My email is provided on the slide. We'd be happy to talk to you further about coaching and professional learning needs.
Thank you so much to all of our presenters, and thank you to you all for watching our presentation. And we're happy to take questions. We'll be available in a chat forum between March 8th and May 31st. So we'll be monitoring that chat and answering questions along the way. And we hope that you join us as well for our live Q&A session, which will be on March 13th at 3:45. Thank you so much.